I was just like, is God real? Is he not? What's going on? Why do I believe this stuff? But I guess there was like a break in the clouds, and like the morning sun like comes right through our kitchen window. So it like shined in and kind of like almost blinded me. And when that happened, I heard a voice that said, "You were my son. I am always here for you."
All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 76, and we have a special / very. I invited you on the podcast like 10 minutes ago, so yeah. This is my friend Hubert. Hubert helps downstairs with XGT, which is our kind of like middle school ministry.
Extreme God team.
Yep. We all used to go to XGT, and now we help at XGT. Hubert, I honestly really don't know too much about your past or your story, so I'm excited for this episode. If you're willing to share, I'd love to hear kind of like, you know, where you were born, obviously, all the details, and also your journey as far as your faith goes.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're down to share. So I guess you start us off wherever you want to start, but it's all yours.
All right. So I was born here in Aspen, Colorado.
Nice.
My whole family were Christians from the beginning. Grew up like going to church, so on and so forth. We kind of church hopped there for a little while.
In Aspen, you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
So where have you gone in Aspen?
So we started out at back when Crossroads was First Baptist.
Okay.
So we started out here, and then it changed to Crossroads, and we stuck with it for like a year. And then we like stopped coming here for some odd reason. I don't really know why. And then we went to the Catholic Church for a while.
Dang, that's a big switch.
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
I was like 3 or 4.
Okay, so you
still young enough to sit in my mom's lap and fall asleep during the sermon. So, so there was that whole thing, and then when I was around 8, I guess, we started going to the Episcopal Church. So we went there for a while until COVID hit, and then I did Young Life for a while, and then after I graduated from high school, I was like, I got in touch with Dan Dengler and Chris Henderson and was like, hey, I really miss helping out with like Young Life and stuff. What can I do? And Chris was like, come help out with XGT. And I'm like, great. So I started doing that.
Before you go any further, so through this whole time, sounds like you've gone to like 3 different churches almost.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, did you kind of think they were all kind of doing the same thing, or did it feel like some were teaching different things than the others, or was there any like?
There were definitely like different theology spots. Like, I feel like we all kind of know the theology of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And everything. So like when we go to the Catholic Church, we can't take communion because we're not Catholic. And the Catholic priest is like meeting with our family, and he's like, okay guys, so like y'all have been coming to our church for like off and on for a while. Like,
what's going on?
What's going on? Are y'all going to become Catholic? And we're like, well, no, but we really don't have that many other options.
So then why, what are you guys doing at the Catholic Church? Do you guys appreciate the service, or what's the draw there?
My mom really appreciates the service and like the liturgical aspect of it, because my parents were both raised Presbyterian, I think, and that has a very liturgical based type thing. But like, I'm going to say with a modern twist, for lack of better wording, because like, they're not going as far as like the Catholic and Episcopal Church, as in like putting their priests in robes and everything. But at the same time, they do follow that like calendar of that.
So were you ever confused going through these different churches and kind of like questioning, or did your family always know the ultimate, I guess, foundations, or like how did that work? Were you guys searching for truth that whole time, or?
No, we were we always like knew the foundation, but like we were always kind of looking for that as close as you could get to a Presbyterian church type deal.
Okay.
And like, not saying that the Catholic Church is close to the Presbyterian Church, because it's not. But like, it was always one of those things of just like trying to find the perfect church that like fit everybody. And now that like everybody in my family is like grown up and out of school and everything, I feel like everybody's perspective is different. So like now my mom still likes to go to the Catholic Church. So we all go to the Catholic Church together on Saturday night because we all like to go to church as a family. So we do that. And then me and my dad come to Crossroads on Sunday morning because we have like
Community
a
here.
church community here. And my mom doesn't feel like she really has a church community here at Crossroads. And she feels like she has more of a church community at the Catholic Church. And then because we have good friends of ours who are Catholic and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Were you a Christian your entire, like, do you ever remember a time where you didn't believe, or were you always?
So when I was 4 years old, one day I was like right before I started school, I was homeschooled. So like I was sitting at our kitchen table eating my cereal or whatever. And I was like having this whole big debate in my head about whether God was real or not.
At 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a question that we all asked at a young age, I'm pretty sure.
True.
For me, it was pretty young, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did that.
What did that debate look like in your head?
I was
Remember?
just like, is God real? Is he not? What's going on? Why do I believe this stuff? Why do I not believe this stuff? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know all of this stuff is good stuff, but like at the same time,
True.
why is it good stuff? And like, why do I believe in it, basically?
Yeah.
And during that like whole thing, it was kind of like an overcast day outside, but I guess there was like a break in the clouds, and like the morning sun like comes right through our kitchen window, so it like shined in and kind of like almost blinded me. And when that happened, I heard a voice that said, "You were my son. I am always here for you." And yeah.
So you pretty much got like Jesus baptized with John the Baptist. Did you see a dove or anything?
No.
Flutter down? That's crazy.
That's
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
so
You didn't see a Jonah?
Jonah means dove for the listeners that don't.
Yeah.
Or peace.
nice.
Or pigeon, because they're... It means both. It just depends on how you see Jonah.
Sometimes a mix of both.
Pigeon dove.
Okay, well, that's a pretty crazy story. 4 years old.
Yeah.
You heard the voice of God.
Yeah.
Have you heard the voice of God since? And it was like an audible voice, you're saying, or was it more of a feeling? Or when you say the voice of God, what do you mean?
It was like an audible voice.
Wow.
I guess.
I think we're all slightly jealous of that.
Yeah. that's really cool though, because like the most like primitive form of philosophy is like when we're little and we just want answers to stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Cuz
why is the sky blue?
Yeah. Like 5-year-olds always asking like why to everything you say, you know? Like it's pretty annoying, but like we're all asking like why to everything at some point too. And I think like that brings me back to your story brings me back to when I lived in Connecticut and going to the chapel when I was like 4 or whatever. I barely remember anything. Like I either had to go to Sunday school with kids that I like didn't really like from what I remember, or I had to just sit through the service and my parents would force me to stay awake. And or at least I felt like I was forced to stay awake. And I just remember the church being so boring, and so I had to ask myself if I actually like believed in God and like if he was real, like why like why do I believe this?
I always hated upstairs church too. I would always kind of tune out, and then I'd draw on like the little note cards they'd give me. Pretty bad drawings, but still.
My favorite part was communion because
I did a lot of that too.
I was hungry and I was like, gimme, and I'd always look for the biggest cracker.
You know, the crackers that we got were like actual paper. They're like,
oof.
You've probably seen like the white wafers. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know what
I
I'm talking
know what you're talking about.
And they melt in your mouth because it's like actual paper.
Yeah,
like it's all like flimsy. It's like,
It's kind of like
take old Bibles and
the weirdest ones were the COVID ones where they put it in like the little
the little hourglass things.
And then the literal piece of little dog food kibble on the top, and then you peeled it. Yeah, those were rough.
That was weird.
Dude, someone had to make so much money off of that.
Yeah, that was probably like...
But at least at that chapel, they used real wine. My first experience of alcohol while I was 4 years old.
So were you getting like turned off the communion?
I didn't even know what alcohol was, but if I did, I probably would have pretended to be drunk.
I'd be like, yo, it's the Holy Spirit.
I can't stand up.
Hell.
I'm drunk on the Holy Spirit, Mom.
I mean, I always was drawing or making paper airplanes when I was in church on like upstairs service. And it was never like a time I despised going to. I always enjoyed coming to church because, there was other people around. But, I think when we were that young, like...
Luke also liked to run up on stage and strum his air guitar. And
I know when I was younger, I would just run up on with the worship team with my little air guitar and, like... I got to find that video. Anyway,
just yell.
That's cute. Yeah, I remember Sunday school being so, like, boring because we would do these crafts or, like, drawings or, like...
bro, Sunday school was low-key swag.
I just didn't like making art of Jesus.
My brother got kicked out of Sunday school once because he refused to draw a picture because it didn't have Jesus in it.
That's like the opposite of me. Like, I probably would have been kicked out for refusing to draw because it had Jesus.
Well, me and Jonah were always like, we kind of grew up as Bible nerds. So I feel like Bible school, it was always fun for us because we were always good at it.
Smartest kids there.
Yeah,
They'd be
I
like,
hear.
so like, what did Moses part? And I was like, the Red Sea.
Yeah, like
all these other little scrubs are like, I don't know. And I'm like,
you went to Cornerstone. You went like, who else went to Cornerstone at that time? Do you remember?
Yeah, but nobody ever watched as many.
Cornerstone.
Like my parents didn't let us watch like shows like Phineas and Ferb or SpongeBob or anything.
What about VeggieTales though? Because that had some
exactly.
Christian.
But we would only do like Bible stuff, like only Bible videos.
Yeah, same here.
And so
I'm thankful for that.
You see, my parents wanted me to be normal, so I was allowed to watch most things.
Yeah, no, dude, I was just prestige master in
Like the only time that we ever watched like Phineas and Ferb and SpongeBob and stuff like that was we never grew up with a TV except we had a house in Florida, and when we rented it out, we had a TV there so the people that rented it could have a TV. So
Dude, sorry, continue.
So like the only times that we would watch stuff like that is when my parents like decided to go take a walk on the beach or whatever, and then me and my siblings would be like, oh, we have like 30 minutes that we can turn on the TV.
Yeah. I feel that so hard.
I have a pretty similar experience. We had TVs in my house, but we didn't have cable. They were big box TVs, and they only used, they just had DVRs. Mm-hmm. So you had to have like a DVD or a tape. VCR. Even.
Yeah, my favorite was when we were in like
I'm
the
not
hotels.
And
the story continues.
It's pretty much like exactly the same, but we didn't own the house in Florida. My grandma had a house in Florida, and so whenever we went down to visit her, that was my chance to watch Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What were you gonna say, Jonah?
Something like, I don't know, it's like we didn't have cable either. We just had like these VCR Bible tapes, so I couldn't do that at home even if my parents left us at home, which they didn't. But like, sometimes we go to like a hotel or something. One time my dad let me watch Transformers when I was really sick and I couldn't sleep, so he sat down and watched Transformers.
The Transformers trilogy was my favorite trilogy as a kid.
No, not like the actual, like the cartoon one.
Oh. Well, I used to watch, my dad's really old laptop had a DVD player on it. We used to have one of those actual like just like flip open DVD players.
I had one of those.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. We used to like watch stuff in the car, my brother and me. And I think I had like Transformers. I don't know. I had one of the series on DVD because I watched it on my dad's computer. But the Michael Bay movies, like my mom was so against me watching it because it was PG-13. And then the third one was like the most aggressive one because it had like war crimes in it and like destruction of an entire city. And my mom was like, it's PG-13. You shouldn't be allowed to watch it. My dad was like, it's Transformers.
I did the most devious thing one time. I took the little DVD player with the screen, right? It was broken, so we had to tape the hinge on a road trip, and I didn't tell my parents. And I brought The Amazing Spider-Man 2 on DVD. I don't know where we got it, but we had it, and we weren't allowed to watch it.
I think someone gifted it to us.
Yeah. Something like
Mom's
that.
like, you can't watch that for a few years or something.
Yeah.
We used it at my parents'.
And then we slept in a Walmart parking lot because we couldn't find like a camping spot or something. And it was like raining super hard and thunderstorm, and I flipped that puppy open. We probably watched like a fourth of it before the battery died.
I used mine at my mom's old Pilates studio in Connecticut a lot because I didn't want a babysitter, so I'd just go there and chill.
Nice. All right, well, so moving away from all the homeschooled / sheltered Christian children.
I also saw Spider-Man on Broadway once.
Broadway?
Whoa.
Yeah, Spider-Man
cool.
on Broadway.
Did they like sing and stuff?
Huh?
Did they like sing and stuff?
I don't think so.
That'd be pretty interesting.
I don't remember, honestly.
Spider-Man! Spider-Man! That would be pretty buns.
Okay, so now, how old are you now?
I am 22.
22, okay. So, how has life been? I don't know. Do you feel like you've transitioned into? Obviously, your faith is your own. It's not because your parents. How is like living, as close to Jesus as you can, like been like in this world? Your opinion?
I mean, it's been hard especially because like I haven't really ever had friends around my age who are also Christians.
Yeah.
And like in the town we live in, it's like kind of hard because like all the people around my age are like either like live way down valley and I don't have my driver's license, so I can't like drive down there. I could take the bus, but because I was homeschooled, I'm kind of afraid of that. But
coming from another homeschooler, the bus was my way of life for probably about the ages of 10 to when I got my driver's license.
Yeah, I remember.
Every single day. Work. Yeah. And I'd take my bike down to the bus stop and back up. Mopeds.
Skateboards.
Electric skateboards.
Crazy.
I'd fly past these little bikers, trying to go up.
Yeah, I remember you took the bus to the Intercept lot and you would like use the electric skateboard or the one wheel up my hill at that old house.
And it would die on the way up, and then it would charge on the way back down.
Yeah, because it was steep.
Okay, so
Continue.
hard to
Sorry,
have friends.
Yeah, so it's like hard to make friends here because like everybody around my age either wants to go out on the weekends and get drunk and smoke pot,
Yeah.
or
Or they're in college.
yeah, they're at college, or they like come here, are here for like a season, figure out that it's really expensive to live here, so they move back to wherever they came from, or like stuff like that. So it's like hard to like figure out, okay, I want like that Christian community type thing and everything. And also it's hard for me because like during the winter people are like, hey, let's go skiing, and I'm like, well, the problem is I don't ski. So it's like one of those types of things that is like, yeah, it's great, but at the same time it's like kind of lonely in
Yeah.
a sense, because it's like, okay, I don't like have the friends I want and I need, but at the same time it's like, how can I find that like community?
If you don't mind me asking, why don't you ski or drive? Is it a medical condition or?
So, it's kind of medical, but kind of not. When I was born, I was really sick, and I had some developmental delays growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But now that like I'm older, I'm like, I was kind of grown up in the sense of like my parents saying like, okay, these are the things, like you can't do this, you can't do this, this is why you can't do this, so like there you go. And then I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense when you're like below a teenager. Yeah. And then like you get to an age where it's like, okay, but like why can't I do this? Because like everything I believe in is like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Mm-hmm. So like if like God wants me to do this type of stuff, like why can't I do it? So like the plan is to get my driver's license this summer.
Nice.
I have my permit, so
Cool.
I'm working on that. I don't ski because like I just never really got into it.
Yeah.
And like I hate to sound like a snobby Aspenite type person, but like it's kind of like a whole lot of hassle for like just a kind of short time of fun, because it's like you gotta get all your ski gear, you gotta pack it into the car or pack it onto the bus, take the bus or your car to a ski mountain, whether it's Aspen Mountain, Snowmass, like wherever you want to ski, and then deload your stuff. If you drive your own car, you got to find parking.
Yeah.
It is a mission for sure.
Like, and then it's like you get on the lift, ski a couple runs, or like 5 or 6 or however many runs you want to ski, and then you like pack everything back up and go home. Mm-hmm. And it's like, for me, it's just like one of those things of like, yeah, it's fun to ski, yeah, like all of that, but is it really worth it? And like,
I see where you're coming from for sure.
I know that y'all are skiers and y'all love to ski, but like that's just like my personal opinion.
I think that's fair. And I don't think, honestly, that's like the Aspenite approach. I think the Aspenite approach would be like, oh, skiing is easy because my slaves unpack and do everything for me.
Yeah.
Like my chauffeurs, if you will, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a more proletariat approach, if you will, which is it's more honest, and I think that's true. There is like
It's a lifestyle for sure. Like,
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you pretty
do
much
it.
commit the entire day to skiing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to like schedule, like plan ahead. A lot of times when you plan on skiing the same day, it's really rushed and you don't get a lot of runs in. It doesn't feel that rewarding. So I do agree with you to some extent.
So what's your, like, I don't know, do you have a routine or anything now? Like, you have Jesus, you read the Bible, you teach downstairs. Like, what's kind of your daily life look like as far as faith goes?
I try to do like a devotional or read my Bible in the morning because I know that if I wait until later on in the day, I'm gonna like
Push it off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not gonna do it. But I try to like go to work in a sense of like what can I do for the glory of God today?
That's cool.
And like some days it's like I wake up and it's like really hard and I'm like, I don't want to go to work. I have a bunch of stuff to catch up on at work today. And I know that I'm going to be like pulled in a 1,000 different directions throughout the day. So I'm not going to get all of my work done. But like, I'm going to like still wake up and do it and be like, okay, like, how can I show Jesus to my coworkers or whatever?
Where do you work?
I work at Ralph Lauren.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What are some ways you found to share Jesus in those kind of environments?
I feel like it's mainly just like through my actions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, of course, like when I started my job, I told my boss like, okay, like on Wednesday nights, I go teach youth group. So I got to take off at like 5 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock so I can go do that. And then I don't like to work on Sundays because I go to church. And she's like, okay, that's totally understandable. You're in the shipping and receiving aspect of it. So like that's easy to work around because there's no shipping on Sundays or the weekends.
So when you say actions, what do you mean by actions? Like, obviously the way you act, but any more detailed advice?
Like, I don't know. I feel like with some of my coworkers, they're kind of like, I don't know. They're all like in the way of like, if something doesn't go well, they're always like, oh, F this or whatever. And it's like, why use profanity when there's like 1,000 different words you can use in place of that to still show your emotion?
Yeah, get the same
But-
point across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
fair.
like sometimes I just like want to look at somebody and just say like, read the dictionary, guys. There's so many other words that you can use. But like also there's been like times that people have like come up to me, and this happened at my old job at Clark's Market a lot too. People would just come up to me and be like, why are you so happy all the time? And I'm like, well, because like I don't really know, but like the main reason is because I have Jesus in my life, and like nothing can come against me because he's like my barricade, basically.
That's sick.
That's an interesting point because people will ask like, so people will have like a natural smile, and then someone else will be like, why are you so happy all the time? And then if their answer is like, I have Jesus, then it's like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
when did it become such a bad thing to be happy all the time? Like,
And then, like, I've also had a lot of coworkers that have just, like, come up to me, especially in, like, the past couple of months after working at Ralph Lauren for, like, a year or so. lots of people have like come up to me and been like, hey, like, what church do you go to? Why do you go to that church? Like, why do you do the stuff that you do? Like, and like, most of my coworkers have like a religious background in their family anyway, whether they were like raised in the church or not. So it's one of those things of like, they kind of get it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but like, why are you sticking to it so much?
Yeah.
Like there's one girl that I work with. She's actually a little bit of an older lady, but she used to be Catholic, and her mom is still Catholic, and her husband takes her mom to mass and everything. But like, she's always like not really judging me, but she's always like looking at me like, so it didn't work out for me, so why do you think it's working out for you? And like, I haven't really had in-depth conversations with her, but like, I've kind of been like, well, like, just like, think of the good things that have happened throughout your life.
I feel like she
Not
probably
the
had
negative.
religion instead of relationship. That's probably the main thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I talked about this downstairs too. Like, a lot of us don't think we have a powerful testimony. But when you look at the statistic of like people that, like all of us, grown up in the church, like the amount of people that stick with it, as far as like actually pursuing it, is pretty low.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's pretty encouraging, I think, to see people that grew up in the church and that stay with it and that
For sure.
keep
Yeah.
Top
believing it.
1%.
Especially when they're like people around our age.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because like, there are not that many young Christians out there. I mean, it makes sense when you see like the 65-year-old guy and his wife that they've been married like 35 years. And yes, I'm using my parents as an example. But like, it's clear to like see them and be like, okay, yeah, they're Christians. That makes sense. Like, they were raised in Christian families in the South, like however many years ago. Like, in some ways, people think like back then and in the South, everybody's a Christian. Like, that makes sense. But like, also it's one of those things of like, to see a young person like us, like, still have that faith and still like be on fire for it. Like, it's like almost like we're still new Christians, even though we've been Christians forever. Like, but to still have like that fire and still want to like go out and be like, hey, this is what I believe in. This is my testimony. This is this. And this is the reason you should believe in it too, is like really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most Baptist churches are in the southern U.S., and so I think it makes sense for a lot of more people to be Christian in the South because Baptists believe that you can be baptized or you should be baptized at any age, and it's a choice that you make, not your parents making for you as a
Not by
baby.
birth, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot easier for people in the South to be like, well, I could just get baptized and then I'm saved. So that would probably be why that's a thing. And I was going to say that like people think Christianity is an old idea, but then I thought more about it and I was thinking like some of my peers who I guess you could call like young Christians or new Christians, barely just getting into it, like they want to know more, and what they've said to me is that like it'd be nice to have a God to lean back on, you know, and it'd be nice to have something to believe in is something that I've heard. But that's where my struggle is, because I've shared this before, but I'm not really good at like spreading the gospel. Honestly, I'm not that good at living it out either amongst my peers, because I've made this image for myself that where I'm trying to be like this cold, emotionless, like mysterious and cool figure, but I know that like in reality I'm more emotional than like I'm more of a feeler than a thinker. When you're thinking about like the Myers-Briggs personality, you know, the 16, you know, the 16 personalities, like INFP, and I like I'm an ESTP, like whatever. You don't know what that is?
No.
So
I've heard of it.
he's I think he's maybe she. It's like a psychologist that invented these personality types that explain different factors of your personality. And so there's 4 letters, or there's a bunch of different letters that can combine into 16 different unique personality types. And mine is INFP, which means I'm intuitive, and
Nostalgic.
no, it doesn't actually start with N. It starts with a vowel and then it has an N. I don't remember. And then feeling and prospecting.
So how do you get this? Is this like a BuzzFeed quiz?
No, it's not. It's pretty similar, but it's not BuzzFeed. You just look up 16 personalities quiz. It asks you like 100 questions, and so like in opposition to feeler, there's also T, which would be thinker. In opposition to prospector, there's also judger.
Prospect, like the dude that looks for gold.
No, prospecting is in like always thinking about what you see rather than putting labels on what you see. So a judger would put a label on what they see. A prospector, me, would think about it or reflect on it. A feeler instantly reacts to situations. This is most people. They instantly react to situations with emotions that guide their actions, whereas a thinker would be more logical, which is like I want to be a thinker rather than a feeler, but I'm human and I can't really like control that.
Well, I think there's a balance of what using both of those.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I
think there's a certain amount of, you have like an emotional threshold, you know, like where something can only go so badly until you have to react with emotion.
Yeah.
Like maybe your house could burn down. You could be like, it's chill. The logical thing to do would be ...
So that'd be like a stoic.
Yeah, exactly. Stoics are thinkers. But then you could like the same person who had their house burned down and not react could like lose their cat and feel like they've lost everything. You know, like
yeah.
So I think everyone has an emotional threshold, and that feeler thinker is where that is determined.
We should all take that test one day and see what.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'm interested to know you guys' personality types. And then the I,
Clumsy's one of mine, I guess.
The I and E are introvert and extrovert, and then the N is intuitive.
Okay.
So I'm introverted, which means I recharge by being alone, and intuitive. So yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Where were we?
I don't know.
Before
I was talking about how like what I was going to get at is that Christianity isn't actually out of style, and what I was trying to say was that like kids our age still are interested in faith.
Yeah. Well, obviously they're
They just
like
don't
buying
know.
rocks and like asking it.
Yeah, exactly. Like they literally go ponder their orbs before making any decisions.
Honestly, bro, just get a magic 8 ball. That's a lot cheaper.
Is that your moral compass is a magic 8 ball?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like young people want guidance, but it's a lot easier to look for it in the wrong places.
Yeah, for sure. Like one of my brother's roommates is like all into like, oh, I have my crystals.
Crystals, yeah.
I put my crystals in the window and let the moon charge my crystals, so on and so forth. And my brother like just like collects rocks and stuff, and he'll like go on a hike and be like, oh, this is a cool rock, and then just like go pop it in his windowsill, just like because he has no other place to put it,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And like one day, and he likes playing Dungeons and Dragons too, and he took his favorite dice and like popped it up in his window or whatever. And his roommate came in. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I think this is so great. You're charging your stuff in your window. Like, that is so cool. Like, you're going to win the next D&D game." And like right after he left the room, my brother like grabbed his stuff and threw it in the drawer. He was like, "I'm not messing with that," because like
That's fair.
once you get into that, like.
But what if the
some
darkness is
really-
now charging the stuff from inside the drawer?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I don't know, but
I was
like
gonna have bad vibes.
We are
Yeah,
not doing a
like-
favor to the homeschool community right now.
so like he's done that, but like everybody's looking for
Everyone knows there's something, and they're all looking for it.
Yeah.
But they don't know what it is.
yeah, and then it's like once you like kind of bring up, well, have you ever tried Jesus or like whatever? They're kind of like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm looking for something, but like,
Not
I'm
that.
pretty sure that's not it.
I think what they're scared of is they know they would have to change a lot of their actions and a lot of their habits in order to
Yeah.
follow Jesus, which is a scary thing.
And I feel like it's also like one of those things of like Christians have to follow a bunch of rules.
Mm-hmm.
Except once you think about it, like, yeah, they're the 10 Commandments. Yeah, they're like some rules that God has set down and Jesus like laid out. But he also knows that like we're going to break the rules. And
Yeah.
it's like one of those things of like, no matter what you do, no matter how much you mess up, God still loves you. Jesus still loves you. You're still going to be saved in the end.
Comforting.
I
What-
think
Go
like the thing is like everyone who is not a Christian can come up with their own unique reasons. Like there are millions of reasons out there why they quote unquote shouldn't be a Christian. You know?
They're usually pretty dumb, though.
Usually. But
Like, sometimes they don't have reasons. They just don't want to.
yeah.
I'm not laughing at him. I'm just thinking this.
You're losing it, bro.
Dude,
You're
I'm
just
just
like
thinking
laughing
this-
over here and I don't know what to do.
Stupid meme over and over and over, just replaying in my head, and I can't get it out of my head.
Okay, well then spew it out.
Just continue.
Okay.
I think I got hit in rugby yesterday. In my head. I think I'm pretty sure I got kneed in the noggin. So
But we also have to be careful from the whole, like, cheap grace aspect, because there's a lot of people that claim to be Christians and, like, well, now I can do whatever I want, you know, like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
And, you know,
God will
Jesus is, in a
forgive
sense,
me.
a get out of jail free card kind of thing. But
Yeah.
if you really believe in something, then your actions are going to reflect that. So
Mhm.
there's obviously
I've been
thing to
struggling
keep
with that
in mind there.
recently, just because like I'm trying to be that persona that I was talking about. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not always like me judging people isn't always reflective of what I actually believe, and so like how much do I actually believe it if I'm not trying to change my outer
Mm.
image?
Yeah. I guess it's a slow from the inside to the outside
Yeah.
change. That's
Well,
hard.
yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say earlier is that like you can also like categorize the reasons that people don't want to be Christians, and one of them is like personal reasons, like if they've had traumatic experiences from, for example, a parent who was Christian, they'll associate the two together, and in that case, it becomes a lot harder for that person to commit their life to something that they don't really believe in.
I
Or
think
that hurt
another.
them, yeah.
I think another common one would be like the one where like someone close is like really sick or something, and they're like begging God for their life or whatever, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Or it's just like you like have that bad experience with a church.
Mhm.
Like that one like off Sunday where like something happens and like the priest says something in his sermon that offends you or whatever, and you're like, well, like, this isn't working.
Yeah, like, how could I ever agree with this?
It's like pizza. You know, like you can go to a pizza shop for the first time. Be like, well, I hate pizza because they have bad pizza there. Doesn't mean you don't not like pizza. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
But they're not
or
gonna.
you by some off chance accidentally got pineapple on your pizza. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, but like that kind of reasoning isn't gonna fly with them because they're gonna like, it's just
Their
because
first
of the
impressions are hard to change.
yeah, just because of the way the brain works. You're right. First impressions are hard to change, and if we tried to explain to them, if any Christian tried to explain to them, like, well, that's just one bad apple, they're not gonna be like, oh, okay. It's gonna be like, well, actually,
It's kind of like with like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. It's like, here's a tomato, try it. And they're like, no, it's nasty. And it's like, okay, well, that was just like that one tomato you tried a little while ago because like you didn't like it. But like, if you try it again, you might.
Mm-hmm. That is, I think that's a better analogy because like, in addition to like having some bad apples, if you will, like your taste buds also change over time, and in the same sense, your spirit grows, and with that comes wisdom of like and you start to know what you really want.
Well, and the thing is, we're all bad apples, right? So if
Yeah,
people
exactly.
follow the people that follow Jesus, if you look up to people, they're always at some point going to let you down, no matter how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look to Jesus to follow him and not his followers, because his followers are going to mess up, like we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be hurt there in that sense. But I think we'll wrap this up here. Do you have any advice you'd want to give to anybody, real, but maybe more specifically younger people, kind of around our age or a little younger, as far as like any life advice or something that you think has really helped you in your life?
Pray about it. Be patient. And like, that's a hard thing for me to do, is be patient, because it's like I pray for things and I want them to happen like immediately, but it's like all under God's timing and everything. So like, whatever you pray for, like, it might not come to you the way you thought it was going to be, but like, God has a plan for everything in your life. And like, yeah, just like pray for it, be patient, and it'll kind of like work itself out, I guess.
Beautiful. Well, with that being said, guys, please like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere that you would want the audience to follow you by any chance, or not
No.
really into
Chance
that?
to plug.
I don't have any social media, so.
Attaboy.
Everybody, if you want to be like Hubert, go delete everything as far as socials go. Go download the Bible app and read your Bibles.
Go outside, get real dopamine.
And Hubert, thanks for being on.
Thank you, guys.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of
I
mine.
have a friend in Jesus.
Jesus is a friend of